Welcome to Crossroads. I'm your host, Joshua Philipp. Today we're again at the Value Voters Summit in Washington, talking with Mark Ludwig. He's with the Truth and Liberty Coalition, talking about shared parenting and how post-divorce and even pre-divorce kids need to have both their parents and why that's necessary. Everyone, please remember to like and subscribe before we get started. Let's go.
You gotta click that button below to like and subscribe.
And it's this guy.
Don't just click it, smash it. Smash that button below.
And it's this guy. We got a big booth here, but good stuff coming out. Stick around. Mark, real pleasure having you on the show.
Thanks so much for having me. I appreciate it.
So I understand that your work right now is you're working on or helping push through legislation that would make it so that parents, if they get a divorce, have equal share of the kids. Is this accurate?
Yeah, it's what we call a 50-50 rebuttable presumption. And what that means is when you walk into a courtroom, from a due process standpoint, until any facts are known about a case, the child should be able to have the same access to both parents that they had the day before the divorce. So walking into a courtroom, the presumption is the child has equal access to both parents. Now it's rebuttable, which means the judge still has discretion to determine is a parent fit, willing, or able.
Now, so what is the problem you saw that made you kind of take up this issue? What was the issue you saw? What is the reason?
Yeah, well, I was never aware of it like most people. Unless you're personally affected, most people have no idea that there's a problem out there. When I went through my own situation, I thought that I would have automatically gotten at least 50-50, if not even more than that. And I found myself relegated to a visitor to my child every other weekend. Well, from the child's perspective, that's not a parent-child relationship, and that's not healthy for a child to grow up in. And after I went through my situation, one of the news stations in St. Louis did a feature on me that went viral, and I started getting calls from people all over the country that said, oh, the same thing happened to me. The same thing happened to me. And I started teaming up with other people across the country who had already started working on legislation to see what I could do to contribute to the cause, and because I did have a lot of political connections.
And I see a couple issues with this. One is that, or at least with the problem, one is that kids, they oftentimes only see their fathers every other weekend, right? So it's usually with their mothers. Every other weekend they see their fathers, typically how it works out, right? And then two, I think, they grew up mostly without fathers. If the father, even every other weekend, if the father stays around, which does he have the incentive to sometimes because of the emotional trauma the family often goes through because of this process. And then also, how does that affect the kids?
Yeah, and it's because kids actually have a dual trauma going on. Trauma number one is mom and dad aren't together. They don't understand that. They know that they love them both, and they're very confused. Why are these people not getting along? But the younger they are, they don't know how to verbalize it, so they keep it internalized. Then the secondary trauma is, I love this other parent as much as I love the first one, but why do I only see this one on every other weekend? And once again, they can't verbalize it. And as a result, they get very frustrated because they see one parent, and I think of my own son. What is he thinking of does he want to grow up and be a father? Because he sees me having to ask permission to make a variation in the schedule. And he sees me only on weekends, and I have to wonder, does he want to be a dad when he grows up, when he sees this situation? Why would he want to be a dad who only gets to see his kids on weekends?
And I've seen that with some of my friends who had rough family lives growing up. They don't think marriage works, and they remember the things they went through as kids, and I never want to have to go through that again, basically.
Exactly. And the problem is when you look at all the societal issues, when almost any time I hear of a school shooting or a mass shooting, I can just about guarantee you we're going to find out that shooter did not have access to their dad growing up. Now, technically, this issue could affect either the father or the mother. It's about the child. It's not really about dads or moms. But I can just about guarantee you in every mass shooting that you see, that child grew up without a relationship with their father. And if you look at the high school dropout rates, incarceration rates, violent crime rates, 80 to 90% of every one of those is tied to growing up without the father in the home. And yes, there are fathers who walk away, but we shouldn't penalize the other fathers who want to be a part of it. There's 24 million children right now that will go to bed tonight without one of their parents in the house. And 10 million of those have not seen their biological father in a year or more. You can't convince me that many fathers walked away.
Yeah, and it's terrible too that it's one of the foundational institutions for raising a family is being affected in this way. And one that mentioned with like mass shooters and stuff like this, and incarceration rates, we see the rate of them having no fathers and stuff, that the institutions are set up in a way that almost encourages that type of child rearing, right?
Well, that's the key. Is the system is set up right now for an adversarial relationship. I've got a lot of followers as a result of my work, and I get calls on a daily basis from people that say, you know what, I didn't dislike my ex as much until I went to an attorney. And the attorney said, look, in our state, one of you is going to win and one's going to lose. So unless you want to be the loser, you better dig up some dirt on your ex to prove why you're the better parent. And there shouldn't be a better parent. Both parents nurture a child in a different way. Obviously I've got a little animosity against my son's mother because of some things that were done, but it doesn't matter. In my son's eyes, that's his mom. And he still loves her, and he should have the right to love her. He should have the right to love both of us. Without, if you think of any child, if you ever see them at a school play or playing a football game, what does every kid do? They look in the stands to see her mom and dad watching. And so they, every day they're looking at that. And I think how many kids in America are growing up Sunday through Friday, and instead of looking at the stands, they're looking around the house saying, where's dad? Why can't I do my homework with dad? Why can't dad help me fix breakfast in the morning? And they're missing out on those memories with the kids.
I think that's an interesting point, because there are the very subtle interactions of parents with their kids, and these very subtle interactions have such an impact on a person's long-term emotional and mental stability that I don't think we've properly factored that in as a society in terms of how. For example, I was reading a book. My wife actually recommended it. It was called, told me to read it. It's called The Female Brain, because I have a daughter, right? And it talks about, there's one section where it's girls, grown women, girls, talking about their fathers. And they're sharing about, they're having a circle and they're all breaking down, crying, talking about their fathers. And a lot of what they say is sometimes one event, one incident, one conversation that affected their entire life, including how they look at their relationships with men in general. And it kind of shocked me to realize that sometimes a single compliment or a single bad interaction can affect a person's life so profoundly. So sometimes those minor things, they mean a lot more than we give weight to.
Yeah, they definitely do. And I think of, like, with my own son, who only gets to see me on weekends, you become what's known as a Disneyland dad. It's fun and we have a great time. The challenge is he's missing out on the routine things. He's missing out on seeing dad come home from work. He's missing out on seeing dad get him ready for school, seeing dad help him out with his homework. And those bonding things that are part of parenting that half the kids in America are missing out on at this point.
So what is the status of your efforts right now? I know you're trying to push some legislation, you're working on some different things. Where is it at right now?
Well, we've got two things going on. At the state level, we're working on these, what we call rebuttable presumption laws. Last year, I was involved in about 24 states, and it's not me. There's like tons of great leaders across the country. We're all sort of working together. And then at the federal level, we're working on changes to the funding mechanism of Title 4D of the Social Security Act, which caused all the problems because normally the states chase the money. And there's a funding problem at the federal level that we're really working hard on right now to try and get some changes to that.
And of course, this is a big business as well, unfortunately, right?
It really is. It's over a $60 billion industry for the family law industry. More money is made there than in the trial lawyer attorneys. And so obviously they're protecting their interest, and it's very unfortunate because the kids are the ones that are losing.
Great. Where can people learn more about your work?
My organization's called Americans for Equal Shared Parenting. We've got a Facebook page that's all spelled out, Americans for Equal Shared Parenting. And then we have a website, which is the abbreviation, afesp.com. So either one of those are the two best places. And then we are slowly building up a YouTube channel, so we'll be putting this video on YouTube.
Great, Mark. A real pleasure having you on the show.
All right.
Thank you so much.